So we just got done adding the second question on our randomized test in the previous video. And now I want to add another question about a graph of categorical variables, but instead of this one here, this pie chart, they've already seen that one. So I'm going to do a randomized version of this pie chart. And what I like about this pie chart in terms of my randomization is that this pie chart mentions all these subjects in terms of their percentages. So what I'm going to do here, this is problem 1 on this paper test, but it's going to be problem 3 on my randomized test. So going back to our Excel document, I'm going to start creating problem 3. So first of all, problem 3N. In this problem, it says the pie chart to the right describes the distribution of the favorite school subject for 300 high school students. Well, I'm going to have that be a different number for every one of my kids. So I'm going to say rand between, and we'll go rand between 2 and 9, and then multiply by 100. So they'll all get a different, I'm going to keep the numbers nice to work with, but they'll all get a different n. And then if we look at the correct answer here, the correct answer here is English was the favorite subject of 96 students. And that's because English is 32% of the 300 students. That's 96 students. So first of all, so I want to mimic that correct answer, but I don't want it to always be English. So what we're going to do is this. So everyone's getting a random n. Now, I don't always want the right answer to be about English. So I'm going to choose a random subject. I'm going to say rand between 0 and 3 for my random subject. And then the name of that subject will be a switch based on the random number chosen in AL2. And if it's a 0, then we're going to do English like the original problem. If it's a 1, then we're going to do math. If it's a 2, then we're going to do history. And if it's a 3, then we're going to do science. So that's changing appropriately. Then we're going to do the correct n for that subject. So again, a switch based on the random number that's in AL2. And if that random number is 0, then we're talking about English. And in our diagram, English is 32%, so we're going to do 32% times n, which is an AK2. If it's subject 1, then that's math, which is 26% of the number that's in AK2. If it's subject 2, that's that's history, which is 11% of the number that's in AK2. And if it's a 3, that's going to be science, which is 15% of the number in AK2. So now it'll say English was the favorite subject of 128 students, which is correct because 32% of the 400. Or it'll say science was the favorite subject of 60 students, which is correct because 15% of 400, 15% of 400 is 60. So that's doing that correctly. Now I want to choose a different subject for my first distractor, which will be answer B. So to choose a different subject, so I think I want to do a switch over here. And the switch I want to do is going to contain an if statement. If the subject in AL2 is a 3, then I want my new subject to be 0. Otherwise, I want my new subject to just be AL2 plus 1. And then I'm going to do the exact same options I had in my previous switch statement. So this is going to be 0 is English, 1 is math, 2 is history, 3 is science. So now, if English is the correct answer in A, then math will be our distractor in B. And also we need to do 3BN. And so that will also be a very similar switch statement to this. If AL2 is a 3, then let's go to 0. Otherwise, let's go to AL2 plus 1. And if it's English, then we want a 32 here in that line. And if it's math, we want a 26. And if it's history, we want a 11. And if it's science, we want a 15, trying to match the distractor. So if the correct answer is math is the favorite subject of 130 students, because 26% of 500 is 130, then distractor, the first distractor, B, which is A up here in the paper test, will say history was the favorite subject of 11 students. So that's matching this distractor that says math was the favorite subject of 26 students. And if our first distractor is science, then that'll go with 15. And if it's English, then that'll be 32. And if it's math, that'll be 26. Okay, now for 3C, okay, history, English, and the arts were less than half. That's not right, because history, English, and the arts were more than half. So we can leave that worded very similarly, but we can make a switch, and let's do a random number between maybe 1 and 3. So if 1, we're going to do option 1, and if it's a 2, then we're going to do option 2, and if it's a 3, we're going to do option 3. So here's what the text of 3 is going to be. So I'm going to choose 3 subjects. Actually, let's just create 3 totally different prompts for this. So one of the prompts will be exactly what this says. Taken together, history, English, and the arts were, not where, were the favorite subjects of less than half of the students. So there's one way I would like that answer to be worded. But a different way I would like that to be worded is, let's find, for option 2, let's find, I'm going to just copy and paste this, but let's find 3, let's put a period on that first. And let's find 3 other subjects that are also, so let me hit enter here. Sorry, let me hit enter here. Move this over so we can see more of what I'm typing. Okay, so taken together, those subjects are less than half of the students, which is a lie. So let's write another lie. Taken together, so instead of history, English, and the arts, we could say science, English, and the arts, or because science, English, and the arts is more than 50%, so it's a lie to say it's less than half. Or we could say history, English, and science. So there's a lot of ways we could word this to be a lie. And I'm going to make a couple other options here. So option 4, what if I take 3 that are very small? Like, say, for example, I say math, science, and the arts. So that's 49%. Math, science, and the arts is 49%. So I'm going to say they were the favorite of more than half of the students. I like that one a lot. And then let's do something similar to that for option 5. Taken together, instead of math, science, and the arts, let's say math, history, and the arts were the favorite subjects of more than half of the students. So now I've got 5 different possibilities there. And so I need this to be a switch from 1 to 5. So now our multiple choice answer C, let me just give this title here. Multiple choice answer C is going to be some wrong statement about these subjects are less than half. History, English, and the arts. History, English, and the arts are less than half, but that's a lie because 19 plus 32 is 51. English, history, and the arts again. Math, science, and the arts were more than half. That's a lie. History, English, and the arts. Math, history, and the arts. Math, history, and the arts. History, English, and the arts. Here we go. Science, English, and the arts were less than half. But that's 23, that's 55%. So we're getting some kind of wrong answer there in for our multiple choice answer C. Then for multiple choice answer D, let's do another switch statement. And let's choose a random number between 1 and 4. If it's 1, option 1. If it's 2, then option 2. If it's 3, then option 3. If it's 4, then option 4. Doesn't matter if I type that, spell that right, because it's going to be fixed for me. Okay, so D is always going to be worded like this. D is always going to be worded like no student said that, in quotes, no student said that space, end quote, and something something subject. No student said that something something subject. How did I get that in there? And then ampersand, quote, space, was his or her favorite subject. So now let's throw in some subjects that are not on this chart. So we can say Spanish, but we could also say economics. We could also say photo. we could say computers. And I think this doesn't have to be capitalized. This probably doesn't have to be capitalized. Don't think economics has to be capitalized, but Spanish does. So no student said the computers was his or her favorite subject. No student said that economics was his or her favorite subject. All of these are lies, by the way, because all of these subjects could have been part of the other category. No student said that computers was his or her favorite subject. Economics, computers, Spanish, photo. So we got all of that taken care of. So we got a random wrong distractor for D, and then a random wrong answer for E that's going to be worded very similar to the original problem. Most of the, end quote, ampersand switch ran between 1 and 4. And if it's a 1, do something. If it's a 2, do something. If it's a 3, do something. If it's a 4, do something. Most of the blah students were space, end quote, ampersand, blah. So now I'm going to do a rand between 1 and 2. And if it's a 1, we'll say male with a period. And if it's a 2, we'll say female with a period. So most of the science students, most of the arts students, most of the English students, most of the math students, most of the history students, so I want this to be between 1 and 5, most of the whatever subject students were whatever gender. Okay, I like the way that it looks. Only thing I would change there is maybe the capitalization again. They will only capitalize the word English, so I'm going to try to stay true to that. I don't know if that's true, if that's correct English-wise. But so there's my multiple choice E, there's my multiple choice D, there's my multiple choice C. Let me insert here, right-click, insert here. So my 3 multiple choice A and my 3 multiple choice B. So my 3 multiple choice A is going to be the highlighted one with the proper subject. So I'm going to say AM2, whatever subject that was, ampersand quote space, was the favorite subject of space, end quote, ampersand AN2, that number of students, ampersand quote space students, period, end quote, bam. So there's our random correct answer. And then for answer B, which is our first wrong answer, we're going to say the B subject, which is AO2, ampersand, quote, space, was the favorite subject for space, end quote, ampersand, the number in AP2, ampersand, quote, space, students, period, end quote, bam. So just to make sure this is looking correct, I'm going to copy and paste this into Notepad to see what we have. English was the favorite subject of 224 students, which would be 32% of 700, so I think we're okay there. Math was the subject for 26 students. That's a lie. Taken together, math, science, and the arts were the favorite subject of more than half of the students. That's a lie. So far, so good. No student said that economics was his or her favorite subject. That's a lie. Most of the English students were male. We can't tell that from the chart. So I like the way this randomization is going perfectly well. I'm going to copy all of this. So all of that so far was just to figure out what I want the 5 multiple choice answers to be. And then what we still have to do is put those 5 multiple choice answers in a random order, because remember, I've constructed this so that answer A is always the right answer. And once again, that's going to help me down the road figuring out my answer key. So I'm going to copy this randomization and display from problem 2 and come over here and paste it. So we're going to have a random number, we're going to have a random number for answer A and for answer B and for answer C and for answer D and for answer E. And then we're going to display, we're going to use those random numbers to display our multiple choices in a random order. So we're going to rank AV2 among AV2 through AZ2. So we're going to rank AV2 among AV2 through AZ2. And we're going to be looking at the answers that are in AQ2 through AU2. So looking at the answers that are in AQ2 through AU2. All right, so I think that's happening okay. We will copy all of that and paste it for all of these students. I don't really have to check that that's working as long as I got the reference to the right columns on Excel. And then something else, do I want to mess with sheet number 2 yet? No, I'm not going to mess with sheet number 2 yet. So I'm going to save here, close this, open up my merge. Always click yes on this because we're going to go through this anyway. So now I want to make problem 3 on my test look like this problem 1. So problem 3 on my test, the pie chart. So we're writing this problem in Word to match the problem in the paper document. The pie chart at right describes the distribution of favorite school subject for, and then we're going to leave a space here, an extra space for blank high school students. Which of the following can we conclude from this graph? And then we're going to have an A, a B, a C, a D, and an E. And then we're going to come over here and snip this graph like this. And we're going to paste that into our Word document, maybe over here. Of course, that's ginormous, so you can right-click on it and size and position, maybe 40% instead. And then, now this looks like it might run on to the next page. Let me see if I can also change the text wrapping so that we can fit all this on one page. Let's go up to that green line and over to that green line. And let's take out one more space here. I wanted to fit those first 3 problems on the first page. So now I'm going to put my cursor right here where I want the number of the sample size, and we're going to click on mailings, step by step. Next step, write the letter, and more items. Item for problem number 3, N, goes there. And then here, 3A display. And then right here, 3B display. Now, some people might wonder why I don't just copy one of these links and paste them. The problem is if you just copy and paste in this format, it doesn't work. If you toggle to the code view or the fields view, which is Alt F9, then that you can copy and paste. But rather than switch back and forth between the field view and the other view, I would rather just take an extra second to insert them like this. There are times when I do copy and paste, but it's best to just insert these fields the way Word has designed. And last one, and there. Okay, and then problem 4 will begin on the next page. Okay, so let's zoom out just a little bit. So our test is going to say student name here, and we should have randomization for all of these questions. Click on Next, preview your letters, and recipient 13 is Cassandra. The following bar graph, okay, we want to look at this pie chart down here. The pie chart at right describes the distribution of favorite school subject for 400 high school students. Which of the following can we conclude from the graph? Taken together, history, English, and the arts were the favorite subject of less than half, and that's a lie because those add up to 51%. No student said that economics was their favorite subject. That's a lie, because that could be in the other category. Science was the favorite subject of 60 students. That's the correct answer because science, 15% of 400 is 60. Most of the art students were male. We cannot tell that from the graph. English was the favorite subject for 32 students. No, that's incorrect. So it looks like that is doing what we want correctly. And English was the favorite subject for 288 students. 32 times 9. I think that's going to be correct. So everyone is getting a slightly different version of the test. Just making sure that none of them are bleeding on to the second page. So I'm going to save that. And that's 3 problems down. Stay tuned for the next part for problem 4.